the money that was spent on the war efforts in Iraq and Afghanistan in the last decade and beyond is not insignificant. But the real debt problem America faces is the long-term structural debt. It's not just the money we owe today, it's the money we are going to owe, and the interest on the money that we owe. And the debt is just, the wars are not the cause of that, especially in the long term. The cause of it, and foreign aid is not the cause of that. I know people love to talk about foreign aid is less than 1% of our national budget. And I know I've met people that think it's 25%. It's less than 1% of our national budget. Foreign aid is not the cause of our national debt. I'm not for wasting money on anything, but food stamps are not the cause of debt. Discretionary spending is not the cause of our national debt. We have a national debt in the country for one very simple reason. We have a series of very good and very important government programs that are structured in a way that are not sustainable. One example is Medicare, a program that my mom is under. My mom is 82 years old. She depends on Medicare for all of her medical needs. I think Medicare is crucial and essential and needs to be maintained for her generation, and I want it to exist for mine. But the way Medicare is set up right now, it goes bankrupt. That's not because I want it to, that's not an ideological talking point, that is a mathematical reality. It spends a lot more money than it takes in, and it will only get worse. And here's why. Because healthcare costs more money than it ever has and continues to rise. More people are retiring than ever, the baby boom generation. They will live longer than people have ever lived. So just do the math. More people retire than are working. We have less workers and more retirees. They're going to live a lot longer than people have ever lived. All this is good news, by the way. And the healthcare is costing more because it's getting better in terms of quality, in terms of the diagnostics and the medicines. But it creates a math problem for us. That's the structural problem in the entitlement programs, particularly in Medicare. That is the singular cause of the long-term national debt that we're facing. There are other causes, but it's the biggest one. So we have to solve that. And here's the good news. The sooner we act, the sooner we do something about it. It doesn't have to be Paul Ryan's plan, although it's the only serious one that's been offered so far. If someone has another one, they should offer it. But the sooner we act to save Medicare, it's never going to be easy to do it, but the easier it will be to do it. And here's the simple solution. Not the simple solution. Here's the simple truth about it. We cannot save Medicare unless people in my generation are willing to accept that our Medicare is going to look different than our parents. Now, we can save Medicare. If we act right now, we can keep Medicare exactly the way it is for people that are on it today or about to retire, 55 years of age or older. But that will require 41-year-olds like me to accept that our Medicare is going to be different. I may have to work until I'm 65 and a half instead of 65. My benefit might be delivered differently. But I'm willing to do that. As far as taxes are concerned, listen to what I'm about to say, because this is absolutely the truth. There is no tax increase that we can pass that will pay off the national debt. There is none. If you tax the richest people in America at 100%, which you can't do because you can't tax anything at 100%, it doesn't even come close to paying the debt. There is only one solution. This is not a philosophical and ideological fight. You just can't, it doesn't add up, the money's not there. You're talking about trillions of dollars in debt, 16 trillion. And so the only solution to the debt is economic growth. It's the only, you've got to grow your economy. It has to, because that's where debt matters. Think of the economy as a pie, and think of the debt as a slice of that pie. If you can hold the slice of pie the same size, and you can grow the pie, the debt becomes smaller and less of a problem. And that's what we have to do. We've got to have fiscal spending discipline because look, in the 2000 era, with all the people talk about the Bush tax cuts that passed in 2001 and 2003, do you know that the government, even after those tax cuts, received record revenue? Record revenue. More money came in for the federal government even after the tax cuts than it had ever received. But guess what else broke records? Record spending. In essence, even though the government took in more money than it ever received, it spent even more than it received. It grew even faster than the revenue was growing. So you've got to have some fiscal discipline on the growth of spending, largely driven by these programs that are not discretionary. You have to spend the money. People are entitled to it because they've paid into it. They've paid into Medicare and Social Security. And they expect that benefit will be there when they retire. That's the only solution, fiscal discipline and economic growth. You can't tax your way and you cannot cut your way out of this debt. You just can't. There's not enough cuts. If you zeroed out discretionary spending, it doesn't pay off the debt either. It's only 30-something% of our budget.